A library is fundamentally an organized room for intellectual resources. Libraries serve at least three roles in learning. First, they serve a practical role in sharing expensive resources. Secondly, libraries serve a cultural role in preserving and organizing artifacts and ideas. Third, libraries serve social and intellectual role by bringing together people and ideas. Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology in Ogun State says the current administration has done quite a lot in upgrading academic and public libraries across the state.
Right now, you recall that the first term we did buy books for all of our schools. Some of those books are still very valid and some of them are still brand new that we didn't because of the distribution naturally. But more importantly is the fact that as we approach unlocking the SUBEB funds over the last couple of years, which because of paucity of funds we're not able to access, spirited efforts are being made as we speak to make entreaties to UBEC so that they can release some of that funding to go into book purchases so we can revamp some of these libraries.
Now that digital or virtual library system is now fashionable across the country, Nigerians should avail themselves of the opportunities it offers.
And they must now go into the field of digital and make sure that with digital they also can cope with the situation, because they will now be moved from analog to digital, and that is a big challenge that they have to face and they must cope with.
Yes, there is that transition from print to e-resources. It's ongoing. We may not be catching up with the pace of development, in the digital world, but the transition is there, and we keep advocating that capacity should be built.
I think it's in the right direction that we look at electronic services, electronic information, because that is where the world is going. There are lots of very current information that they now come in electronic format. So if we do not have access to this information, it means that we are having problems with our various developmental issues.
So our librarians just need to change the mindset, think more about technology and the preservation of the materials, but more importantly, how to use technology to drive virtual libraries. Those virtual libraries still have a whole host of administration in the back office where librarians still remain effective and very much in need.
Those who spoke with OGTV News allayed the fears of librarians and the physical library of going into extinction.
They should be thinking about the future. There will always be value in hard copy print, don't get me wrong, even if for the historical value and nature of those books. Otherwise, some of the greatest books that ever were would have been, dropped out of extinction, but you find that they keep reinventing them. And so I don't think that the reading culture will ever change to the extent where books are no longer in use, but of course they might become relics to be preserved.
Because there are lots of materials in electronic format that people can sit in their homes, their offices and access. But then we should also know that there are still some materials that cannot be digitized. Materials that will still continue to remain in paper format. And because of that, the libraries will be relevant. Now, even if we have virtual libraries, librarians are still relevant in that we are able to channel people to the correct source of information in the virtual libraries. So when I hear that once we have virtual libraries, librarians are going to be redundant, that's incorrect.
Building intellectual infrastructure requires intellectual, emotional and social breakthroughs in teaching and learning. The role of the library, especially virtual library in this, is unquantifiable. Tunde Olaniro, OGTV News.